Oh, is this thing muted? Ah, we're live. That's why it was muted. That's why. Aha. Okay. There we go. Hold on. Make sure that the audio is working. Make sure. 1 second. 1 second. hmm There we go. All right. Hunting is throwing in the requests for RAME and ALMS. All right, bet. Give me 1 second. Let me get myself all sorted and all set up, and I'll get right on that. Yeah. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. All right. Yesh. All right. Let's see here. Let's make sure we got live on the X. Obviously, yes, we got live on the X. Audio is working. Beautiful. Let's make sure we're live on the Twitch. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Good. Let me make sure everything's all copacetic. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay. All right. Let me get this over here. Boom. Get that right there. Okay. Good. Get everything all set up here. Right there. Gotta get all the announcements out. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. It's Wednesday, right? Right, Wednesday. Yes, it's Wednesday. Yes, sir. I was like, it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. I was stuck between the two because sometimes it feels like it's Tuesday, even though it's a Wednesday. You know what I mean? So yeah. Just getting myself all set up here. Just getting myself all set up. Bop right there. All right. Getting everything all ready. There we go. All right. Beautiful. Got that all set up right there. Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Wednesday. Hope it's as good for you as it is for me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Let me get everything all set up here. Let me just get this right here. Boom. Right there. Okay. Get this all set up right here. Boom. Right there. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right. Okay. There we go. All right. Get this over here. Get that all set up, ready to go. Good. All right. All right. Get all these announcements out. There we are. There we go. Get that set out. This bot right there. There we go. Right there. Okay. All right. Get that all set up. All right. All right. All right. There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it. Let's get this intro started over here. What's up, guys? It's Double Nicks, and welcome to another episode of Microcap Mornings. I am your host with the most. They call me DBL Nicks in the house, aka the Rainmaker. And I am here with the lovely Serengeti specialist herself. She likes to hang around the tall weeds, the high trees, the low seas, hitting them high knees. Sometimes she likes 2 cups of coffee. Other times she likes to jet ski. Other times she likes to regular ski. Other times she gets shot out the cannon and she goes, wee! Other times she likes to go to RBs and watch videos of puppies and kitties. Other times she likes to go to Wendy's, and sometimes she'll go to Mickey D's, and on occasion, you know what, sometimes she'll go to the Burger King. But you know what? She's always just chilling, and to top it off, she'll steal my low main, and then to top it off, she'll go into the stock market and find them ABCDs, and she'll call some wonderful stonks like VTYX, AMOD, and GLUE. We call her TV Moms. Hey! There we go. There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we got going on, folks. That is what we got going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as ring that bell icon to stay notified when new videos are uploaded. And remember to share, because sharing is caring, folks. Sharing is caring. And, of course, if you want access to our private Discord, link to join us in the description down below, as well as the pinned comments section. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different. And the early bird gets the cash, the moolah, the loot, the cashola, the big bucks, I tell you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we got going on today. That is what we got going on. So, let's get started with some stonks. Now, we got 2 requests so far today. 2 requests. Hunting asks for RIME. Let's go for RIME first. Let's take a look at for RIME. RIME currently on a bit of a downtrend over here. Currently on a bit of a downtrend right here. Look at that right there. Bop, right there. All right. Make this a little bigger. Make it nice, and let me make this color yellow right here. There we go. So as of now, RIME is currently moving on a downtrend right here. Needs to try to break that downtrend. Is trying to pierce it right here with this green candle right here, but has a ways to go until it gets to the $1.43 mark, which is where the VWAP is. Currently, this stock has a bit of support and resistance lines right over here. Let's get this right here. Bop right there. All right, and bop right there. So as of now, with this stock, you got support at $1.27. You got resistance at $1.34. After that, the next resistance line would be at $1.39. And the next resistance line would be at $1.43, which is a VWAP. Then $1.44, $1.50, and then $1.60, all of which are basically right over. Yeah, so we got that going on right there. That is what we got going on, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so let me actually make this a bit bigger. Make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Make this a little bit bolder. There we go. All right, good. Get this set up. Bot right there. Yeah. So as of now, RME is trying to peak above the downtrend over here. It's trying to break above the downtrend, but it needs to hit the VWAP right over here. It needs to break that VWAP for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. So it's got a ways to go. It's got a couple of resistance lines it has to go through. It has to hold above 127, break through 134, 139, 143, which is VWAP, 144, 150, and 160 for it to really be schmexy to me. Otherwise, man. Let's take a look at the float. The float is 2.7 million. Volume is 6.1 million. So it does have volume. It's got the float. The float is relatively reasonable. The volume is pretty good. So it's got that going on right there, but it just needs something to really set the flame there. So does it have any news? Let's take a look and see if it has any news. So as of now, RME had a bit of an after-hours jump last night. So apparently, let me take a look over here. The Florida-based AI company technology company announced that its subsidiary Semicab received an expansion to its master services agreement with Apollo Tyres Limited, India's second largest tire manufacturer, with over $5 billion in annual sales. and ranked among the top 10 global competitors in the tire industry. So that's what they got going on right there. That is what they got going on. All right. And let's see here. Semicab, a Georgia-based collaborative transportation platform, will provide managed transportation for services across 20 densely populated lanes in India, offering higher global overall frequency of loads shipped across the. Okay, so basically they got some really good stuff popping off with their subsidiary Semicab. That's what they got going on right there. That is what they got going on. So that's good for them. That's very good for them. That's awesome. Good for them. Hope that they continue to make some money there, but they really need to break above this little downtrend here. And it looks like they're trying to. It looks like it's trying to break above this little downtrend right here. It just needs to really gain some volume for it to be so much Mexi to Mia. But otherwise, it's looking good. So, oh, not looking good, but you know, it needs to really curl its way on up. It needs to curl its way on up with some more volume. So, as of now, RIME needs to continue to curl off the downtrend and break the VWAPA for it to be so much Mexi to Mia. That's what RIME needs, really. So that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on right there. Let's take a look at the next stock Hunting asked for. ALMS. Let's take a look at ALMS. ALMS currently, as of now, made a bit of a pennant right here. So you got this. It's a little bit actually of a descending wedge right over Mia Bot right there. Let me get this. Boom. Boom. All right. And we got this going on right here. Boom. Set that up. So as of now, ALMS is currently forming a bit of a descending wedge. Fell below the VWAP. Needs to break above that VWAP and above that descending wedge for it to really be so much Mexi to Mia. Let's get some support and resistance lines here. Some support and resistance lines. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Boom. Right here. Boom. And boom. So as of now, this stock has to hold above $16.87. Needs to break above 17.14, 17.47, and finally 18.01, and the VWAP, which is 17.14. So the VWAP is 17.14, so it needs to break above that resistance line and VWAP right there. Then it needs to break to 17.47 and 18.01. So as of now, ALMS needs to break the descending wedge and the VWAPA for it to be so much Mexi to me, because it does have a couple of resistance points even after the VWAP. It's because a VWAP and a resistance line over here are pretty much the same thing, at least on this one right here. So the VWAP is also a resistance line. So yeah, you got that going on right there. Needs to break above that area for it to be so much Mexi to me. Let's take a look at the float before we leave. All right. So 29.7 million for the float, which is a little bit heavy. Volume is 367K approximately. 367K approximately. So as of now, the float is approximately 30 mil. Volume is approximately 367K. So as of now, the volume is extremely low. Float is extremely high. Not looking too schmexy there. Needs some serious volume for it to really curl off that descending wedge. So I'm going to write that as well. ALMS needs volume to break that descending wedge and VWAPA. Needs some serious volume for that. All right, so let's take a look at another stock here. We did call earlier in the morning VTYX. VTYX. All right, let me get this here. Boom, VTYX. Let's take a look at VTYX right here. All right, so VTYX as of now did have a nice run, up 72%. Up 72%. Currently now 57% right here. It was consolidated along the VWAP for a time, then kind of fell below it, and then eventually just dropped down right there. So not looking too schmexy right there. Bot right there. Needs to break above this downtrend and needs to break this VWAP for it to really be so much schmexy to Mia. So as of now, that's what we got going on right there. All right, this is VTYX Biosciences Inc. And basically VTYX needs to break above this VWAP, and it is showing a lot of consolidation. So it needs to break the consolidation. Needs to break consolidation with some volume. Currently needs to break VWAPA and the downtrend. All right, there we go. That's VTYX. Let's take a look at GLUE. GLUE, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so GLUE, we called this one as well earlier in the day. Ran up a nice 50%. Moving its way on up, curling right over here, and then proceeded to fall below the VWAP and form a bit of a pennant right over here. So as of now, this needs to break the VWAP right over Mya for it to be schmexy to Mya. You know what I mean? So that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on. GLUE needs to break the pennant and the VWAP for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. There we go. That's what GLUE needs to do right there. AMOD, AMOD. As of now, AMOD is currently on a big descending, a big old downtrend right over here. Not looking too schmexy as well. Is currently below the VWAP. Needs to break this downtrend for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. Yes, needs to break that downtrend right here. AMOD, AMOD. Needs to break that downtrend. AMOD needs to break the downtrend and the VWAPA for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. So as of now, that's what we got going on. That is what we got going on. Let's take a look at MNTS. MNTS, how's MNTS holding up? Also on a bit of a downtrend here. Needs to break the VWAP and the downtrend for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. MNTS, NTS needs to break the downtrend and the VWAPA. All right, so that's what we got with MNTS, NMRA. Let's take a look at NMRA. NMRA currently curling above the VWAP on some low volume right here. Looking at that indecisive wick right there, I could tell you this is a low volume stock. So as of now, this stock is up 18%, but is moving up on some low volume, curling above the VWAP on low volume. So we got that NMRA curling above the VWAPA on low volume. And let's get a share party going, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 200. Let's get to 200, ladies and gentlemen. 200, 200, 200. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to that 200. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's all the way back down there. All right. Marty says, good morning. Good morning, Marty. Can you check RELI? Yeah, sure. I can check RELI. Let's do it. Sure. RELI. RELI. Currently moving its way on up, just broke above the VWAPA. Has news that Reliance Global Group shares are trading higher after the company announced it would acquire majority stake in Centec. So basically, they're planning on acquiring a majority stake in Centec right here. They have a bit of a resistance line forming right over here at the 71-cent mark, right over Mya, right there. So they have to break above that for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. So let's get the graffiti pencil activated here. Let's get the graffiti pencil activated. Boom, right there. All right, let's take this. Bop, right there. Bop, right there. All right, so as of now, you have support at the 68-cent mark. 71 cents is resistance, a big old resistance actually. And then after that, you got 76 cents, which is the next resistance line just above that. As of now, this is currently above the VWAP, but it is starting to kind of fall below it a little bit, but it's trying to bounce up above it again. So we'll see what happens with the stock right here. We shall see what happens. Right now, it looks like it's breaking above the 71-cent resistance line right there, and it looks like it's trying to test that 76-cent resistance line right there. So let's see what happens right there. But right now, RELI seems to be moving and grooving. Let's take a look at the float. The float is 9.49. Actually, no, 9.5 million approximately. Volume is 3.1 million. So as of now, the volume is a little bit lower than the float. The float is higher than the volume. So as of now, that's what we got going on right there. Let's take a look at the news, see if we got any news. Obviously, Reliance Global Group shares are trading higher after the company announced it'll acquire a majority stake in Centec. So they got that going on right there. That is what they got going on right there. So RELI looks like it's got some potential. Looks like it's got some potential, but right now it has to break above that resistance line. So that's what we're doing right now. That's what we're doing right now. Torikul Islam asks, where can today reach? I don't know what you mean by where can today reach, but as of now, I mean, I don't know what that means, truthfully. I mean, anything could happen today. Anything could happen. So anything could happen today. Anything could happen tomorrow. I mean, it's the stock market, so it really depends on news, volume, things of that nature. There's like a lot of different parts and pieces that go into what can happen with any particular stock. So as of now, today could reach anything. That goes for any day, really. So yeah. But let's see here. RELI, fighting its way above the VWAP, actually no, above the resistance line, and climbing. All right. Should I sell in $2.20? Well, firstly, I don't normally give sells or anything like that. We don't do that here. We don't do any sells or anything like that. And also, I do not know which stock you're referring to regardless, so I kind of can't really tell you anything, anyways. Totally cool, but I don't really give sells. I'm not a stock advisor or a stock professional, and yeah, no, we don't do that here. So yeah, no. So that's what we do right here. So let's see what else we got, ladies and gentlemen. What else we got? What else we got? Let me add them. Let me add them. All right. So as of now, let's see here. Let's see here. All right. Let's see. All right. LUCY, LUCY. Let's take a look at LUCY. LUCY, as of now, is currently climbing its way on up. Currently climbing its way on up. 1 second. 1 second right there. Currently climbing its way on up. Slowly but surely, it is moving its way on up right now. So, yeah, that's what we got going on here. Innovative Eyewear Inc., that is the name of the stock, currently moving upward as of now. It is up 41%. Has news that Innovative Eyewear shares are trading higher after the company reported preliminary Q4 sales of about 1 million, up 45% year over year. So we got that going on right there. Currently, it is moving its way on up, climbing slowly but surely. So yeah, as of now, it's climbing. It's got to remain friends with the trend, but it is climbing. So yeah, LUCY is climbing. Lucy, I'm home. Now, if I remember correctly, and I don't know entirely, I'm pretty sure Lucy has had a history of dilution before. I don't remember entirely, but I'm pretty sure it has. It does run. Don't get me wrong, it runs, but it does have a history of dilution. So I'm going to be wary of this one, in my opinion, at least. I personally am going to be a little wary of this one, but it does run. So if I play my cards right, in my opinion, I could potentially do something with this. But let's see what happens. LUCY currently on the uptrend right here. Currently on the uptrend. Right, needs to remain friends with the trend. Needs to do that for it to be so much Mexi Mya. Has a bit of resistance right here at the $1.70 mark, right over Mya. Has to break above that, and it does. It is breaking above it right now. Currently, let's get some support and resistance lines right over here. Bop, right there. Right. has support at the $1.59 mark, has to break above $1.70, and has to break above 173 for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Now remember, again, the news is that Innovative Eyewear shares are trading higher after the company reported preliminary Q4 sales of about $1 million, up 45% year over year, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we got going on over there. That's what we got going on. So the float for this stock is 4.3 million approximately. Volume is 27.2 million approximately as well. So it's currently doing that there. All right. Again, has news that they're trading higher after the company reported their preliminary Q4 sales of about $1 million, up 45% year over year. So they're currently climbing their way on up, and they're currently doing their thing here. Has to break above 170, has to break above 173 for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Otherwise, you know how it is, ladies and gentlemen. You know how it is. All right. And looks like it's trying to test that high a day right there. So I will say Lucy is trying to test the high a day. Lucy is trying to test the high of day. There we go. There we go, baby. There we go. All right. So let's get a share party going on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 400. 400, 400, 400. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's see right here. All right. All right, all right, all right. Let's take a look. All right. Let's see what else we got. What else we got going on? Let me add them. Let me add them. All right. All right, all right, all right. All right. Hold on. Let me get over here. Boom. Okay. All right, we got a couple of requests here as well. We do have some requests. ASBP. Someone requested this stock. Let's take a look at it right here before we do. VTYX. Let's see how VTYX is doing. VTYX still needs to break that consolidation. Still needs to break the VWAP. VTYX still needs to do these things. VTYX still needs to break the downtrend for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. There we go. All right. GLUE. Let's see how GLUE is doing. GLUE trying to test that high. Broke the VWAP and is trying to test that pennant right now. GLUE broke the VWAP and is testing the pennant as of now. So we got that going on right there. That is what we got going on right there. Boom. Okay. What else we got over here? NCPL. Currently trying to curl its way over here. Boom. Right there. All right. Trying to curl a little bit. Still needs to break that VWAP, but it is trying to curl up a little bit, so we'll see what happens. Was leaning a bit towards being oversold in the RSI. Now it's kind of leaning towards just being indifferent on the RSI, so we'll see what happens there. We shall see what happens. All right, NCPL trying to curl. Needs to break the VWAP. Oh, hold on. The VWAP. Yes. VWAP. Yes. There we go. There we go. Boom. Right there. Okay. So let's see what else we got here. CRIS popped up. Let's take a look and see about CRIS. CRIS formed a bit of a resistance line right over here. CRIS currently has a bit of a resistance line at $1.27. Needs to break that resistance line for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So let's see what we got going on here. What do we got? What do we got? CRIS needs to break the resistance line right there. That's what it needs to do. All right. There we go. And it looks like it's trying to curl above it right now. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right, there we go. There we go. Let's take a look at some other stocks here. Somebody requested ASBP. ASBP, let's take a look over here. ASBP up 68%. 68%. Let's take a look over here. It has news that Aspire Biopharma shares are trading higher after the company announced FDA feedback from a pre-IND meeting supporting a 505(b)(2) filing for a high-dose sublingual aspirin without requiring additional studies beyond its planned trial. So that's what they got going on right there. That is what they got going on. So let's take a look over here. Boom, right there. Consistency asks for NICE. We'll take a look at it, and we'll take a look at the meme as well. All right, we'll take a look at those two right there. Yes, sir. All right, so as of now, currently ASBP needs to break the pennant right over here. It is currently above the VWAP, which is good. A little bit oversold and overbought in the RSI, but that's okay. It is what it is. It is up 65%. Let's take a look at the news, or let's take a look at the float. Float is 115.117 million, so the float is extremely high. All right. Volume is 179.3 million. So that's what we got going on right there. Float's volume is higher than the float, but the float is extremely heavy. It is up 65%. That is looking good. All right, and has news that Aspire Biopharma shares are trading higher after the company announced FDA feedback from a pre-IND meeting supporting a 505(b)(2) filing for high-dose sublingual aspirin without requiring additional studies beyond its planned trial. So as of now, ASBP needs to break this pennant and needs to stay above the VWAP for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. Let's take a look over here. ASBP needs to break above the pennant and stay above the VWAPA. All right, so there we go. All right, let's take a look at NICE. That was a request. Let's take a look. Someone requested NICE consistency spike. You requested it. All right, there we go. All right, so NICE as of now, I could tell just by looking at it, low volume, a lot of indecisive wicks over here. Dropped down a little bit to the 117-cent dollar mark. By the way, very expensive stock right over here, $117 and change. All right. And to top it off is currently very, very choppy and indecisive as of now. So it is moving through some very choppy, indecisive areas right here. Is a little bit indifferent on the RSI. Was at one point overbought on the RSI. Did have a move upward, but has since kind of just started mellowing out there and, well, more so just having a bit of a, what do I call this? Consolidation mixed with lack of volume. So it's currently not moving around too much. So let me actually get the support and resistance line right over here and right over there. All right, so as of now, the support is at $116.27. Resistance is at $118.09. So that's what we got going on right there. Very expensive stock. Very expensive stock right here. Float is 61.4 million and change approximately. All right. Volume is 1.4 thousand. So as of now, very low volume, very heavy float, very expensive stock, not looking too schmexy as of now. Is above the VWAP, I'll give it that. And it doesn't look like it has much news here. It's highlighted its ESG gains with 2024 sustainability and governance report. But other than that, there isn't much really to note here. They did Actimize recognized as a leader in enterprise fraud solutions in Asia Pacific by a leading analyst firm. So as of now, yeah, it's not looking too schmexy here. I mean, it is very choppy, low volume, not looking too good. Let's take a look over here. So let me write this down. NICE, expensive stock, low volume, needs to break above the WAPA for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. All right, NICE, low volume. Let's take a look at MEME. All right, MEME is an ETF stock. This is an ETF. We'll check it out. All right. Currently, as of now, has support and resistance lines over here, very far and few in between. $7.18 is the support line. Resistance is at, excuse me, my bad. 1 second, there we go. All right, resistance is at $7.49. As of now, not looking too schmexy. Very low volume over here. I could tell just by looking at it. A lot of indecisive wicks, very low volume. It is somewhat above the VWAP, I'll give it that, but it is very, very low volume. So as of now, the float is unknown. Volume is 12.457K. So as of now, the volume is extremely low. It's unknown what the float is, and it is basically very, very choppy. So that's what we got going on right here. MEME, just, not really much news going on here. So, MEME, as of now, let's take a look. MEME needs to stay above the VWAPA, but really needs volume to break the choppiness right here. The choppiness. All right. So that's what we got going on right there. Let's take a look at GVH. That was the next request. Let's take a look. Boom. Right here. GVH. Again, a lot of indecisive wicks. Very, very choppy. Not showing much promise over here. Is below the VWAP as well. Very much so indifferent on the RSI. Let's take a look at the float. Float is 2.1 million approximately. Volume is 21,000 approximately. So again, float is reasonable, but the volume is extremely low. So very low volume stock. Not looking too schmexy there. Let's take a look at the news for the stock. Global Event Holdings filed the Form Schedule 13G with the SEC. So that's what they got going on right now. And they raised 1.4 million in registered direct offerings on January 2nd of 2026. So as of now, GVH is not looking too schmexy to me. Very choppy as of now. So GVH is very, very choppy, low volume. GVH, low volume and choppy. Needs volume to break the VWAPA. That's what it needs to do right there. All right, let's take a look at another stonk right here. Let's take a look at another stonk. What other stonks we got here? Let's take a look at, somebody requested SOPA, SOPA. Keegan requested SOPA. Okay, so let's take a look at SOPA. So as of now, SOPA currently is moving downward, fell below the VWAP as of now, but did have a little bit of a climb and a little bit of consolidation. It had a little bit of consolidation above the VWAP, kind of moved up a little bit slightly, and then just started dropping back down. So is currently on a bit of a downtrend here. Needs to break above this area. If we want, we could also technically possibly say that it is a potential descending wedge. Maybe, if we really wanted to. So I'm going to try to be enthusiastic here and say that it should be a descending wedge. We're going to be a little, enthusiastic if we say that. At best case scenario, it's a descending wedge. Worst case scenario, it's a downtrend. So as of now, we don't really know as of now, but it is below the VWAP. Needs volume to break above the VWAP right here. So let's see what we got going on. Let's see. All right. So as of now, let's take a look over here. Bop right there. Bop and bop right there. Okay. So as of now, we got. Let me move this back here. Boom. All right. So as of now, we got support at the $3.29 mark. Resistance at 337, 343, 348, 346, which is where the VWAP is, then 348, 356, and 367. So as of now, this stock needs to break above this downtrend or descending wedge right here, and then needs to break above the VWAPA for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. So as of now, SOPA needs volume to break above the descending wedge and the VWAPA. There we go. Boom. Right there. So that's what we got going on, folks. That is what we got going on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. All right. All right. So, as of now, that is what we got going on. That is what we got going on. So, SOPA currently moving its way. Well, it's trying to curl its way on up off that descending wedge. We'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see what happens with this stonk right here. SOPA. Let's take a look before we leave on this. Let's take a look at the float. Float is reasonable. 7.4 million approximately. Volume is 397,000 and change. Okay, so as of now, the volume is extremely low. Float is extremely well. The float is reasonable, but it's too high for the volume. The volume is extremely low. So we got that going on right there. Let's take a look at the news, see what they got going on. SOPA filed a Form 8 on the 6th. That's about it, really. Not really much to say other than that. So, it be like that. It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we got going on, folks. That is what we got going on. Let's take a look at something else here. Let's take a look at NCPL. NCPL. Let's take a look at NCPL. Currently, NCPL did move its way on upward a little bit and then kind of still needs to break above that VWAP. So NCPL still kind of consolidated below the VWAP. NCPL consolidated below the VWAPA, needs to remain friends with the trend. There we go. There we go. Boom. Right there. All right. MNTS. See how it's doing. Still on a bit of a downtrend here. Still on a bit of a downtrend. Needs to break that VWAP and needs to break that downtrend. MNTS still needs to break the downtrend and the VWAPA. There we go. Boom. All right. ASBP. How's ASBP doing? ASBP up 63%. Needs to break above the pennant right here. Okay. So still needs to break that pennant right there. Float is extremely heavy. Volume is higher, though. I will give it that. Let's see what happens with it. ASBP needs to break the pennant for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. ASBP needs to break that pennant for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. There we go. There we go. All right. That's what we got going on right there. Somebody requested LAES. LAES. All right. Let's take a look over here. LAES moved up a little bit, has some unconfirmed H1 earnings due on the 20th on Tuesday after market close. So we got that going on right there. Let's take a look over here. Boom, right there. All right. So currently, as of now, LAES is currently on the uptrend, needs to remain friends with the trend for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Has unconfirmed H1 earnings due on the 20th after market close. So we got that going on right there. So LAES needs to remain friends with the trend, up 1% right now. So we'll see what happens with that, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see what happens with that. All right, let's take a look at AZI. AZI, let's see here. AZI did have a indecisive wick right over here, so it doesn't look like it has much in the volume department, but we'll see what happens. It's just one wick, so we'll see what goes on right here. Let's take a look. Boom, right there. Boom, right here. Right here. And it looks like it's trying to do an ABCD pattern all the way up. It is currently above the VWAPA. It is above the VWAPA, but did form a bit of a resistance line right over here at the 427 mark, right over here. So it looks like it formed resistance at 427. So we'll see what happens there. AZI needs to break the resistance line formed an ABCD pattern earlier. has to break above that resistance point for it to be so much maxi tumya. All right, let's see what else we got. What else we got? Somebody requested ASST. ASST. Let's take a look at ASST. Currently, very, very choppy. That's what we got with ASST. So, as of now, choppy, low volume, very barcoded. Needs to make some volume right there. ASST needs volume to break the choppiness and barcoding. All right. While we're here, let's take a look at BYND. BYND, as of now, very, very, very low volume. You can tell just by looking at it. Fell below the VWAP. Needs volume to break above the VWAP for it to be so much maxi tunya. That's what it needs, ladies and gentlemen. BYND needs volume to break the VWAPA. It becomes so much maxi tumya. All right. Open, OPEN. Let's take a look at Open. Open, also same deal, has a bit of a resistance line right over here at 693, right? And then proceeded to drop its way back down right over here. It needs to break the downtrend. OPEN, OPEN needs to break the downtrend, needs to break that VWAP. So OPEN needs volume to break the downtrend and the VWAPA. There we go. There we go. Boom. Right there. All right. Let's take a look at Lucy. 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 Excuse me. There we go. Breaking above the high a day, up 48%. Breaking the high a day. You love to see it. You love to see it, ladies and gentlemen. LUCY. Breaking above the high a day, up 45% right there. Currently, $1.77 is the high of day. So as of now, Lucy seems to be trying to test the high of day. So Lucy broke the high of day. Seems to be testing the next level of resistance. There we go. Right there. Boom. Right there. All right. Let's take a look. See what else we got over here. All right. Somebody requested CRIS. CRIS again. All right. Let's check out VTYX. Probably same deal going on, but I'll check it anyway. All right. VTYX still needs to break that downtrend. All right. VTYX still needs to break the downtrend. All right. There we go. There we go. All right. So, as of now, needs to break that downtrend right there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Let's see here. Somebody requested CRIS again. Let's take a look at CRIS. Currently on the downtrend as well. Needs to break that VWAP for it to be so much maxi tumya. CRIS needs to break the VWAP right here. Boom. Needs to break the VWAPA and the downtrend for it to be so much maxi tumya. Otherwise, not looking too schmexy. All right. Someone requested SIDU, SIDU. Let's take a look. SIDU currently forming a bit of a pennant over here below the VWAPA. Needs to break the VWAPA for it to be so much maxi tumya. Needs to break the pennant and needs to break the VWAP over here. So SIDU needs to break the pennant and the VWAPA. All right. So it needs to do that and needs volume to do it. So it needs to do that right there. SIDU currently 0.01%. So Not something I'm necessarily keeping an eye on. Somebody requested UAVS. Bet UAVS. Let's take a look. UAVS currently on a slight uptrend right now, but it is doing this on low volume. I could tell just by looking at it. UAVS moving up on low volume right there. So UAVS moving up on low volume. There we go. BBAI. Currently, BBAI is on a bit of a downtrend right now. Needs to break above the downtrend and the VWAP for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Actually, yeah, and it's low volume stock. Needs some volume here, but actually needs to break more so. Yeah, needs to break a down. Needs to break this descending wedge really for it to be somewhat schmexy to me, but it looks like it's breaking below it, so it might be more like a downtrend, but we'll try to be enthusiastic here. Say BBAI can have a potential descending wedge because it is possible that it could be, but yeah, no, doesn't look like it. We're not gonna do that. It's just a downtrend. It be like that. It be like that sometimes. It do be like that sometimes. BBAI needs to break the downtrend and the VWAPA with some volume right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we need. That's what it needs. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So let's see here. Let's take a look at NCPL. NCPL. How's NCPL doing? All right, there we go. NCPL currently trying to stay above the trend line here, trying to remain friends with the trend, but needs to break that VWAP. NCPL still needs to remain friends with the trend and break above that VWAP. That's what it needs right there. All right, NMRA. Let's take a look over here. NMRA currently has a pennant right over. Yeah. So NMRA needs to break above the pennant for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya and stay above that VWAP, obviously. NMRA needs to break above the pennant for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. All right. Somebody requested UAVS again. UAVS on the uptrend on some very low volume. Still moving its way on up, but again, on low volume, up 4%. UAVS moving up on low volume. So we got that going on right there. That is what we got going on. Let's take a look at another stock. Let's take a look at SOPA. SOPA. Curled above the descending wedge a little bit and then formed a bit of a resistance line right over here at the $3.40 mark. And then started going back down. So as of now, SOPA all right, let's see here. SOPA curling and forming curled, but needs to break the resistance line. Yeesh. All right. So as of now, that's what they got going on. Let's get a share party going to 1500. 1500. And ladies and gentlemen, be sure to check out our 4-day trial for our real-time alerts and scanners for only $9.99. Link to join us in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different. Just made different. And the early bird gets the cash. The moolah, the loot, the cashola, the big bucks, I tell you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, when you join the 4-day trial, you get access to our amazing scanners, such as this one right here, which shows the ticker, price, volume, float, time in which it was scanned, whether it's moving up or down, and the percentage change. You also get these hyperlinks, which allow you to check in on the entirety of the stock. You get all the information ranging from the calendar all the way to the news, all the way to every single bit of information you need to know about the stock. And to top it off, you gain access to the newsroom, which has small little synopses of certain articles. You can actually click on the hyperlinks to actually read more about said articles or read more about a certain topic within said articles. And to top it off, you get the tickers that are affected by the news within said articles, and you could also click on the hyperlinks for those tickers so you can see their charts and see all sorts of other information about them. You get access to the amazing stock ticker tape, which is basically the area that we are currently keeping an eye on. You know what I mean? For stuff like that, for tickers and stunks. All right. And also to top it off, ladies and gentlemen, you gain access to the wonderful and educational, indelible community that loves to basically build upon themselves, develop themselves, make each other better, and make themselves better. All right. So, yeah, that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Let's see here. Okay. So, as of now, let's take a look at. Let's take a look back at Lucy. Lucy, I'm home. Ah. That's Ricky right there. That's Ricky. All right. It's a combination of Lucy and Ricky. That sounds terrifying. If you know where that movie is from, you're a legend. Anyways, so LUCY again has news that Innovative Eyewear shares are trading higher after the company reported preliminary Q4 sales of about $1 million, up 45% year over year. So we got that going on right there. Currently, it is on the uptrend. Needs to remain schmexy to mya. All right, so LUCY needs to remain friends with the trend. LUCY needs to remain friends with the trend. All right, for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. All right, AMOD has AMOD doing, still needs to break above that downtrend. Has news that Alpha Modus Holdings shares are trading higher after the company announced a partnership with DXC Technology to deploy financial services kiosks nationwide. So that's what they got going on right there. All right, let's take a look. AMOD needs to curl off the downtrend for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. All right. Let's see what else we got. What else we got going on? MNTS needs to hold above the downtrend. Needs to hold above that downtrend. All right. So as of now, let's take a look over here. VTYX. Let's see how VTYX is doing. VTYX, I don't think much has really changed with them as of now. VTYX still on the downtrend, not looking too schmexy. Not looking too schmexy at all. VTYX. Needs to break through that downtrend. That's what it needs to do right there. All right, let's see what other stonks we got going on here. All right, somebody requested REKR. REKR. Let's take a look. Very choppy, very barcoded, not schmexy at all. REKR. Barcoded with low volume. Not schmexy. Not schmexy. All right. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. How about so somebody requested RKR, very barcoded. Meh. Let's take a look at Lucy. Let's see how Lucy's doing. LUCY, still friends with that trend right there. Still on the uptrend, ladies and gentlemen. Still friends with that uptrend right there. LUCY, still on the uptrend right now. Hold on, stand by, right there, boom. LUCY, still on the uptrend. And testing the high of day. Boom, right there. Kamal asks, should we buy in AMOD? I can't tell you what to buy into or what you shouldn't buy into. Kamal, that's not my job. So I don't really do that stuff. I don't really tell people what to buy into or what not to buy into. That's more the job of a stock advisor, right? And that ain't me. So yeah, no, we don't do that here. We don't tell people what to buy into. We just look at the stonks, review the stonks, and keep an eye on the stonks. You know what I mean? That's what we do. So AMOD currently still on a bit of a downtrend here, but did peak above it temporarily. That is something that did happen. So AMOD peaked above the downtrend temporarily. All right. So it did peak above it just a little bit. Has news that they're trading higher after the company announced a partnership with DXC Technology to deploy financial services kiosks nationwide. So as of now, that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on. Yeesh. NCPL. Currently on a slight uptrend right now. Still needs to break that VWAP though. So NCPL climbing, but still needs to break the VWAP right there. All right. So let's take a look at MASK. MASK just came in. Has fiscal year earnings unconfirmed due in 13 days on January 20th before the market opens. As of now, Mask has created a bit of a pennant right over Mia. Has to break this pennant right over Mia. Has to break above the pennant and break the VWAPA for it to be so much maxi to Mia. MASK needs to break above the pennant and then break above the VWAPA. There we go. Beautiful. All right. So that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on right there. All right. Let's see. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 1900. 1900, ladies and gentlemen. We are just 4 minutes away from the bell. The bell. We are just 4 minutes away, ladies and gentlemen. 4 minutes away. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 2000. 2000, ladies and gentlemen. Come on now. Let's get to 2000. Let's get to 2000. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So as of now, that's what we got going on with this right here. Let's take a look at another trend line. Let's take a look at another stonk right here. Somebody requested hymns. Isn't that the thing for people with ED and hair loss and all sorts of other stuff? I think that's what it is. All right, well, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at it. All right. It's like a men's health type of deal, if I remember correctly. So, Hims and Hers Health. That is the name of the company. Very choppy, a lot of indecisive wicks going on here. Moved up on some low volume, went back down, and then started climbing its way back up. So, currently on was close to being overbought on the RSI. Went back down to being kind of indifferent on the RSI. Very low volume, but it is slightly on a very slight uptrend at best. So Hims right over here, but it is very, very low volume as of now. So not looking too schmexy here. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, me personally, but that is me. That's me. That's my opinion. HIMS, very low volume, needs, right, but moving slightly upwards. It's low volume though, so I don't trust it. I don't trust it for sure. So that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on. Let's take a look at SCRV. Somebody requested SCRV. Choppy and on a downtrend right now. Not looking too schmexy to mya. SCRV. Choppy and on a downtrend. Needs volume to potentially curl. There we go. There we go. All right. Needs to break that downtrend though. That's what it needs to do. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So, as of now, that's what we got going on right there. Yeesh. All right. All right. All right. Let's see what other stonks we got here. LUCY. How's LUCY doing? We are less than a minute away from the bell. The bell. It deafens me. All right. LUCY has a little bit of resistance there, but broke above the high of day once again. Broke above that high of day. Currently up 51%. And testing the high of day once again. LUCY testing that high of day once again. And it looks like the bell made the ringy dingy. It made the wee woo. Yes, sir. All right. Let's see here. Lucy? Yes. Lucy is moving. Lucy is testing the high of day. Once again, it is testing the high of day. So that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on right there. Yesh. All right. Currently, though, Lucy is now moving up like crazy, up 57% now and climbing. It is climbing its way on up right now. There we go. climbing its way on up, broke the high of day. Lucy broke the high of day. Lucy broke the high of day right there. LUCY broke the high of day. Now up 57%. And it's still climbing its way on up. Still climbing its way on up. Climbing and testing that high a day right now. Is testing that high a day. It's smacking it gently. Smacking it gently. You know how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. All right. While we wait for Lucy, let's check out GLUE. GLUE. GLUE-ish. Testing the VWAPA. Testing the VWAPA. Yeesh. Testing the VWAPA right now. GLUE. Testing the VWAPA. So that's what it's doing right now. It needs to continue to get more volume to break that VWAP. Let's go back to Lucy. Lucy broke the high of day once again. Hit 59%. Lucy once again broke the high of day. Up 59% right there. There we go. 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 All right. Let's see here. All right. So now Lucy hit 63%. Excuse me. 63%. Lucy hit 63% right there. There we go. AMOD. AMOD tried to curl off that downtrend just a little bit, but then broke down below it again to create another downtrend. AMOD tried to break the downtrend, but needs more volume for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. CAPT, price spike, Captivision shares are trading higher after the company announced it was granted an extension to regain NASDAQ compliance right there. Right there, right there, right there. So CAPT, price spike on low volume because the float is 25 million, volume 664,000. Price spike on low volume. There we go, right there. All right, let's see. Alex, morning. Good morning, Alex. Can you check out SkyQ for me? I've been in since 43 cents, and it's just been holding. Got no signs of slowing down. Let's take a look at SkyQ. SkyQ. All right. As of now, SkyQ is up to 68 cents, so you have definitely made a profit, brother. But it does have a bit of a resistance line right over here at the 70-cent mark. And it currently is pulling its way back down just a little bit. Was leaning towards the overbought. A little bit leaning towards the overbought. But as of now, it's pretty much just doing its thing right here. SkyQ is currently, as of now, going to put some support and resistance lines here. It's got support at the 64-cent line. Needs to break 73 cents for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. As for, you said 43 cents would be right down here. So it is very much so above that as of now. Very much so climbing above it. It is doing its thing right now. So yeah, that's what we got going on with this stunk. That's what we got going on. And let's get a share party going. Let's get to 2,300. Ladies and gentlemen, remember to check out our 4-day trial for the real-time alerts and scanners for only $9.99. Link to join us in the description down below as well as the pinned comment section. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different. And the early bird gets the cash, the moolah, the loot, the cash. Yes, the early bird. The early one.
Go get yourself a bird.
A bird. Get the bird. Yes. All right. So as of now, UFG Sky Q is currently moving up, but does have some resistance line it needs to break. So it has to hold above the VWAP. Sky Q needs to hold above the VWAP and break the resistance line. That's what we got going on right there. All right, UFG price spike on low volume. All right, UFG price spike on low volume right there. All right, NVVE. So let's see how NVVE is doing. Again, another price spike on low volume right there. NVVE price spike on low volume right there. All right. So that's what they got going on right there. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are chilling right now. Chilling like villains. That's what we're doing. Let's take a look at Lucy. I am home. Up. Lucy went back down a little bit, pulled back down. It was a bit overbought in the RSI, so it pulled back down. It needs to stay above the VWAP. It needs to stay up. It needs to break back above that support line right there. Found its resistance though at the $1.93 mark. So it found resistance at $1.93. Needs to break that resistance. It needs to break through 194 for it to continue to trade and become schmexy to me. So as of now, Lucy needs to remain friends with the trend. Lucy needs to remain friends with the trend. So that's what we got going on right there. Yes. All right. So, as of now, that's what we got going on, folks. That is what we got going on right there, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah. We're just chilling right now. Let's take a look at NVVE. That was still a price spike. Still climbing its way on up. We'll give it credit where credit's due. It is climbing its way on up. Again, still on low volume, though. Has 804K volume, 1 million float. So it still has a ways to go before it could really become schmexy to meow. But the float is relatively good. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with this. NVVE. Still on the uptrend. That's what we got going on. That is what we got going on right there. Let's see about VTYX. VTYX. All right. VTYX. Massive downtrend. Not looking schmexy. VTYX. Not looking schmexy. Still on a downtrend there. VTYX. Still on the downtrend. Not looking schmexy there. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as ring that bell icon to stay notified when new videos uploaded. And remember to share, because sharing is caring, folks. Sharing is caring. And of course, if you want access to our private Discord, link to join us in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different. And the early bird gets the cash. The moolah, the loots, the cashola, the big bucks, I tell you. Yes, sir. All right, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to check out our 4-day trial for our real-time alerts and scanners for only $9.99. Link to join us in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different. And the early bird gets the cash. And NVVE has hit a high of 65%. Just going to put that out there. And then hit a resistance point at 365. So as of now, that's what we got going on with that stock. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, when you check out our 4-day trial for the real-time alerts and scanners, you gain access to our market mover scanners, you get access to our amazing newsroom. You get access to our stock ticker tape, all of which are amazing, useful research tools to help you research stocks. And then, of course, you gain access to the community, which basically is a wonderful community that likes to help each other grow, help each other build, and basically likes to grow with each other. They like to grow themselves, and they like to grow with each other and build each other up and build themselves up and become better and better and better. And if you get the Wealth Builders package, you get all that plus exclusive Wealth Builders perks, such as exclusive Wealth Builders content, exclusive Wealth Builders scripts. You get exclusive Wealth Builders access to Coach Nick Money and myself, as well as exclusive Wealth Builders picks and an exclusive Wealth Builders 500 course, 500 video educational course. So we got that going on right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is what we got going on right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring that bell icon to stay notified when new videos are uploaded. Remember to share, and share. You can find us on our YouTube channel at Coaching Money. At Coaching Money. You can find us there where we do lots of stock reviews, stock analysis, and lots of live streaming, shorts, etc. And, of course, the regular videos. Yish. We do all that and more, right? And you can also find us on our x.com, aka Twitter, where we do lots of live streaming, lots of videos, lots of stock reviews there as well, and of course lots of charting and cool stuff like that. At Coaching Money. At Coaching Money. You can find us on Twitch, where we do lots of live streaming at Coaching Money. At Coaching Money. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Coaching Money. At Coaching Money. And you can find us on TikTok, Tiki Taki, aka the Tac. The Tac. You can find us there at DBLNicks. At DBLNICKS, and the screen name is Coach Nick Money. And yeah, you can find us all over there. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for me. It's Double Nicks. I love you guys. They call me the Rainmaker. And I'm here with the lovely Serengeti specialist herself. She likes to hang around the tall weeds, the high trees, the tall weeds, hitting them high knees. Sometimes she likes 2 cups of coffee. Other times she likes to jet ski. Other times she likes to regular ski. Other times she likes to get shot at the cannon and she goes, wee! Other times she likes to go to RBs and watch videos of puppies and kitties. Other times, she likes to go and chill and find them ABCDs. Thank you, by the way, Abiola Muhammad. Thank you so much for the subscription there. All right. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And they call her DBL Moms. Hey! And of course, that's pretty much it for me. So, it's Double Nicks. I love you guys. I'll see you in Power Plays, which is a show that's coming up at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to check it out. I'll see you there. It is basically a show where the Coach Meister General, the legend himself, looks at some stonks prior to Power Hour, gives his honest analysis, and then gets some dubs on Fortnite, and then basically looks back at the stonks, lets them simmer on high heat, and then basically does it all over again. And he gets some dubs on the Fortnite for the community. So yeah, be sure to check that out at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be there as well, co-hosting the show. So much love, ladies and gentlemen. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day. Make a lot of money. Hope your dreams and aspirations come true. And peace out, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you at 1:30. Much love.